Welcome in to the Off-Brand Avalanche podcast, and we are only 1 week away from the NHL draft, so we'll have some more action going on here soon. But before we get into our draft talk later on this week, today we just wanted to go over the big news. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup, and then we'll talk a little bit about how close the Avalanche are to that cup and the steps they need to take.
Yeah.
Absolutely. First of all, congrats to the Lightning.
A comparison that I've been kind of making for them throughout this playoffs is last year's Virginia Cavaliers in NCAA basketball. How like 2 years ago they got knocked out by the 16th seed and they were one seed and came back the next season and won the whole NCAA championship. So that's a little bit similar to me. You can definitely draw some comparisons between the Lightning. How the Lightning went down last year, and got swept. My dog is going crazy. But Randy. But how they went and got swept 2 years ago, and then last night came back and won the Stanley Cup. And it was interesting because John Cooper was actually wearing a Cavaliers hat throughout the playoffs to kind of inspire some of his players. So pretty neat.
It seemed to have worked, and I think one of the most impressive aspects of their run is just that they did it with Steven Stamkos playing 2 games. Like they have that much depth that they take away one of their best players and they're still the best team in the league. Take away their captain and they're still the best.
Yep.
There's a couple big stories out there. I guess Pat Maroon winning his back Stanley Cup. Big ups to Pat. Lucky him. Just congrats to Tampa. The Avs are right there, in my opinion. We'll get into that.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing that happened was Victor Hedman took the Conn Smythe, which
that was a shocker.
Marshall and I talked about it. Not that it was undeserved, but it was shocking. Like it was. You just don't really expect the defenseman to get that recognition, especially when, like, Miro Heiskanen led his team in scoring. So if the Stars had won, I wouldn't have been surprised to see him get it. But Hedman, as good as the defense he played back, as far as scoring was concerned, he was 12 points back from his next teammate, which, not to say that he didn't have just as much of an impact. It was just a little bit surprising to me that he got the recognition anyway.
Yeah, third all time for a defenseman in playoff like goals. So that's pretty impressive in that aspect. But then the impact that he has on the defensive side of the puck kind of unheralded. So definitely deserving, but very surprising. It's when before they were even bringing out the trophies and all that. Zach and I were like, who's gonna take it home? And I was saying Vasilevsky. Zach was saying maybe Kucherov could sneak in there as well. But it was Victor Hedman. So that's just kind of goes to show how much depth this team has. You could have pointed to anywhere from 3 to 5 guys that would deserving candidates.
Yeah, I would have bet my life savings on it being Braden Point. I was that confident, and apparently I should not have been that confident.
I was super confident in Vasilevsky.
To me it seems like Point should have won with his overtime goals throughout the playoffs. Some big goals for the team. And you said it, Marshall. His defense, Victor Hedman, that is unheralded. He's a great defenseman, and his Norris trophies in a Stanley Cup now show that.
Yes, they do.
And it's crazy because Kucherov had 26 assists in his playoffs. I think that's the second most of all time. I know Lemieux had one playoff run where he had more than that. He had three. Other than those two guys, you heard of those guys? Pretty impressive. So.
Yeah, the stats are always a little bit distorted, to be fair, just because of those 3 extra games that the Lightning got. But, still, that's an incredibly impressive number. The one other guy I want to point out how good his playoff impact was Nathan MacKinnon finished 4th in playoff scoring and didn't even make the conference finals.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's insane.
He did have those 3 playing games, but I'm not even. We're his play in both rounds were absolutely insane. So that's one big reason why the Avs are right there for next year.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about it. How close are the Avs? The short answer is pretty fucking close. I mean, take away some injuries, and we definitely had a chance at a run at the very least. I think. What do you guys think the biggest difference between us and the Lightning is right now? Because I'd say it's goaltending.
Yeah, I'd say there's a couple. Like goaltending, I would say is definitely one, and then that Victor Hedman type defenseman, which we're probably about to get rid of. Not really not comparing Z to Victor Hedman, just their size. We don't really have a defenseman that size that has that big length. So I would say that.
I do think Cale Makar can be that kind of defensive impact. I wouldn't say that, like, you're right on the size. We don't really have much of that, and the guys we do are on the chopping blocks. So
yeah,
we could stand to get a little bit bigger, although I think the game is moving more and more towards little quick guys and away from the bigger, stronger defensemen. So there's a good chance. I think future Cup winners will continue to get smaller. But I do think Hedman is a good point because the Avs don't have that level of defensive impact from anyone yet.
No, not yet. Like you said, Billy, it would. Makar would have a chance to get there. I don't see him being quite that level defensively. Just because of the fact that he focuses so much of his game being like absolutely dominant on the opposite side of the zone, and that does end up skewing some numbers in that way. But in terms of value to the team, Cale Makar will be right up there with
Hedman. I could definitely argue that Cale Makar is probably more valuable. Is probably more valuable than Victor Hedman scoring wise. Maybe not defense wise, maybe not defense wise, but maybe Bowen Byram, maybe Bowen Byram next year. Just the defensive next year. Just the defensive size is a lack. Not necessarily a detriment though.
Yeah. And we've got a couple little guys. I think the Avs D-core, if you're projecting out a year, maybe 2 years, the Avs D-core, I think, could be even better than what the Lightning have now. Because you're talking about, the Lightning, they have Hedman and they have McDonough, and then it kind of falls off a little bit. The Avs could be looking at a D-core with Makar, Byram, Girard, Timmins, and just whole top four. Top to bottom.
Shattenkirk and Sergachev really know. Sergachev is over Sergachev right now.
I don't think Shattenkirk I feel like is in that same league.
He was
like if you.
I feel like he was a pretty underrated.
Of those three, assuming that Girard and Timmins are the players we think they will be.
Right now, I would put Girard at 2, Shattenkirk at 3, but Timmins can absolutely. But he also needs to stay healthy. He also needs to stay healthy before he can get to 3. Shattenkirk was a pretty underrated Lightning team. He was pretty solid for them all year. Pretty solid, and it was kind of just that move kind of flew under the radar. Especially in terms of off-season additions. He wasn't really having the best years of his career before he came to Lightning. But he definitely resurrected a little bit. And I think a little bit is just because of the fact that he got to play. He didn't have to play those number one, number two. Gets a little bit weaker competition. They didn't really have to rely on him too often. He was pretty perfect for his role.
Right, that's a great point. Right, that's a great point. Because you guys remember to be the 1-2 defenseman in New York when he to go no other place and and we saw that work better suited in this 3-4 role for sure. 3-4 role for sure.
Absolutely.
Former Av, he had a couple good years with the Avs before we traded him for EJ. That trade was. Looking back, it's still hard to say that anyone won or lost that trade. I feel like.
Yeah.
Maybe both.
Especially if Chris Stewart, being the player that he was in Colorado, I feel like it would have been slam dunk. He kind of just flamed out pretty hard. He actually just retired. Yesterday. Congrats on retirement, Chris. But Chris's last 4 years of his career, 4 to 5 years of his career, really freaking interesting. If you look it up, he was playing in England, in an adult league, and then came back to the NHL, got signed by the Flyers, played like 10 games for them. So,
wow.
If you ever want to look up a weird story, definitely go ahead and look up the Stewart story. But circling back to your original question, I do think that goaltending is a huge thing right now. I mean, Vasilevsky is, for my money, the number one goaltender in the league. Just over the last 4 or 5 years, he's on average been the best goaltender. But I do think that we are just lacking a little bit of depth still in comparison
on the
to
forward
the Lightning.
side.
Yeah, like if you can have Braden Point be your 2C, that's automatically giving you a jump. And you also have guys like Andre Palat, Tyler Johnson, and then they're two pickups. Like Yanni Gourde had a terrific playoffs. And the two trade deadline acquisitions, Blake Coleman, and who was the other one? Blake Coleman.
That was the guy obviously worth first round pick.
The first round pick. Yeah. That was the other one. But at the end of the day, they played their roles really nicely. Helped them win the Stanley Cup. There's not really any prize for winning a Stanley Cup. I still think that there's a little bit of a gap depth side for both these teams. I think the Avs, with continued growth from young guys, this offseason will definitely shorten that gap.
Shane Bowers are hopefully those guys that become that depth that we're talking about.
Yeah. Continue to see Burakovsky kind of play the way they did in the regular season. Then already kind of on our way. But we do have a lot of cap room. Especially in this next 3-year window that we can do anything with. But it's kind of getting those guys that would be coming into take those deals. Look, this is our window right here. We think we can win the Stanley Cup like next year all the way to the end of McKinnon's contract. Have a good chance at it. But then one McKinnon's contract is due. He's going to be asking probably. So
yeah, he says he'll take a pay cut. Even taking 11 mil feels like that would be the pay cut that he'd take.
Yeah, and that dude, if we can get McKinnon on the 11 mil contract, especially with the way that the new TV deal and Seattle coming in, the way that the cap is going to jump, projecting, in the future, then that would be a huge deal for the Avs.
It still end up being a very good contract, so that would be nice. And the Avs have to continue to draft well. They have done a pretty good job. In more recent years in the past, even looking at the Avs today, how many players on the current Colorado Avalanche were drafted by the Avalanche outside of the top 10 picks? The answer is 0, unless you counted Connor Timmins games. So that is, in the past couple of years, it looks like the Avalanche have started to do a little bit better job of that. Martin Kaut, Connor Timmins, even guys like Sampo Ranta who might have an impact, Alex Bocage, Sasha Mutala. It looks like they have started to do a better job of that, but they need to continue that trend and not go back to the Avs that we saw throughout the entirety of the 2010s that just could not hit on a player outside the top 10 picks.
Yep. Looks like we started getting better over the last couple of years. But like you said, Billy, we have to find some key contributors in the later rounds. Is my biggest thing. Second, third round picks have been good for us. It was looking like Connor Timmins might be a little bit. We might have found someone in the second round, albeit a very early second round pick. But he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. So we need to find some role players in those later rounds if we're going to be successful after the McKinnon contract.
And if you look at it, if you want to use Tampa as the example, let's talk about their late round drafting, because Nikita Kucherov was a third round pick, Braden Point I believe was a second round pick, And those are the two players we were talking about in that Conn Smythe conversation.
Yep. Yep, and even their earlier picks of hit. I mean, Victor Hedman. Hedman. You and I were having that conversation. You and I were having that conversation. It's like 2009 draft, 2009 Tavares, and it's like Tavares, and it's like I'd probably take Hedman. So that was a huge hit for them. So that was a huge hit for them. Steven Stamkos whatsoever. Disappointing whatsoever. It's kind of disappointing to see, at least to see what could have been like what could have been like a NHL career, kind of. Cut a little bit short because of injuries. Not like cut short. Not really living up to his potential. Really living up to his potential. Definitely had a Hall of Fame career. He's definitely had a Hall of Fame career.
This guy,
yeah. So yeah, dude. Yeah, it's just Injuries have really bitten him in the butt. Going back to your original point. The fact that they are able to win a Stanley Cup in this fashion. Steven Stamkos, their captain, pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was nice to see him get a couple games in, though. I was kind of surprised that he did get those games in, but I was really happy to see it. He even got that goal.
Well, he got like 2 minutes of playing. He got like 2 minutes of playing, scored a goal, and then got injured again. But the impact that Steven Stamkos has on the Lightning goes far beyond. Like he is their leader.
Impacts the Colorado Avalanche more than he really shows out there.
Yeah, like. Yeah. Steven Stamkos is their leader, and everyone knows it. That's why they brought him out. They brought him out yesterday on skates to be the first one to lift that Stanley Cup. So.
Yeah, I guess that was definitely exciting to see. Moving away from the draft a little bit. I wanted to get Billy's take on this. Mark about potential speculation of the trade. That could work. First of all, Tyson Jost gotta go. And then we pick either Nikita Zadorov or what's his name? Connor Timmins. In a first round pick. Patrick Laine. What do you think of that, Billy?
Tough. I don't know that it's enough to pry Patrick Laine out of Winnipeg.
That's what Marshall was saying.
If we could, then yes, I'm all in for that, because I think that's a dream scenario for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Laine definitely needs to change.
If you're talking about getting Laine, I think because our first round pick isn't early enough, I think you'd have to to work either Newhook or Byram into that deal if you wanted to pry Laine out of Winnipeg. And that I don't know that I'd be in favor of.
Yeah, that hurts. That hurts.
It'd also be interesting trying to re-sign what he'd be asking for, because we couldn't really realistically pay him probably what other teams could.
This would be kind of like a prove it deal. He's not like what he was his rookie season for whatever reason. He's not producing that amount of goals.
Yeah. I mean, he's still putting up pretty significant goal numbers, but he just has all around game. That's the starting part to me.
Drop him in for 30-goal type player in your top six. So I'm not too worried about the
40 goals.
Marshall touched on it. When we talk about signing Taylor Hall, our big thing is we keep saying, well, we want to sign him. We aren't doing more than 3 years. Patrick Laine, if you're trading for him, is looking for a deal of more than 3 years. And if he does take a 3-year deal, he still has RFA years left, at which point either you're trading him or you're paying him, but then you're dropping someone else off the roster, because you can't pay McKinnon that year too and pay Laine and still have room to keep Rantanen around, to keep Makar on his deal around, to keep
Landeskog.
Yep, good points.
Yeah, Landeskog and Makar coming up pretty freaking fast here. So we definitely have to be smart, and I am not worried about sack marks. We've seen him be conservative in the past. If he doesn't find the deal that he wants, he's not going to do it. So I have faith in Sack. He is playing the long game here. I would be kind of surprised if we still hold on to that 25th pick. By next week, which is kind of crazy. We could be something happening here over the next week. In my opinion. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we do end up picking at 25 just because we've seen from Sakic. He's kind of hesitant moves sometimes. Regarding draft picks.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him trade down, try and get 2 second-rounders, just because right now the biggest thing lacking in the Avalanche system is defense, and there's not really an abundance of it at the 25th pick.
Yeah. We'll get more into that in our draft odds. But so my question for you guys is with the way the roster is currently constructed, being like saying that we might not make any more moves, we might not bring anyone else in the offseason. Do you think this Avalanche team right now healthy is good enough to win the Stanley Cup next season?
You know, the Avalanche were Stanley Cup favorites going at a point in the bubble. You know, going into their game against Vegas, checking the odds, looking through all the sports books, the Avalanche were the Stanley Cup favorites, and that is still the team that we have. So I do believe that the Avalanche are good enough to win a Stanley Cup. Even dropping off Matt Nieto and putting Kaut into that spot, things like that, the given kind of moves, the ones we know are pretty much coming. I do think the Avs are good enough to win the Cup.
Yeah, me too. I guess is this Zadorov needs a contract, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Not that I'm worried about Zadorov not coming back, just losing one of our top four defensemen is just never good in general. So we'll see what we'll do in that spot, and then still the Avalanche are favored to win the Cup this year. The odds actually came out today, plus 800. So
they literally are favored. So there's obviously some counting the odds. The thing is, they're not going to get any worse next year. McKinnon continues to show growth from all around every single year. I don't expect that to slow down next season. And hopefully we can stay away from the injury bug next season and have like a full season from Rantanen, have a full season from Landy, Makar, and if Grubauer can show a little bit more consistency, then I would have to say that easily the favorites out west. Just health-wise is the biggest.
It's just that arms race with Vegas. So, and I think Vegas, their window will close quicker than ours does.
Oh, easily. I mean, yeah, absolutely. They're a lot older than us. So I mean, the Avalanche is still a very young team, and a lot of people forget that.
All right, before we do get out of here, I do want to ask you guys one more thing. Avs have been rumored to be involved as one of the main players for Torrey Krug. How do you guys feel about that? I don't love it, but I don't think I hate it as much as it seems like a lot of Avs fans do.
I guess I don't necessarily love it either. The fact that he's just another offensive defenseman coming to the group, which we already have abundance of, and potentially losing Zadorov, probably stay out there, kind of big lockdown defender. I don't hate it, but I don't necessarily like it.
Yeah, either. He's still a good player, and he is good defensively, but it doesn't feel like filling a new feels like just more of the same.
We already got two power play quarterbacks as well. We've seen Gerard take the handles, and Cars are number one guy.
If people don't like Gerard, well, Byram will take that role. You know, if Gerard doesn't badly, Byram's right there to do it too.
Exactly.
I would see Torrey Krug as a little bit of a filler before we can get Byram in the lineup consistently, in my opinion. I do like Chancellor a lot more than Torrey Krug, but I definitely would not hate bringing in Torrey Krug either. He would make the Avalanche defense definitely the most potent offensive core in the entire league. So that's something that you would be expecting from him easily like 40 to 50 point guy. And it's not like we can't have two defensemen on a power play. Putting Gerard and Torrey Krug on a second power play would be kind of exciting in a way. So.
All right, that was my last question for you guys. Before we do get out of here, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, this is a little bit of a shorter episode before we dive into some draft talk in the next 2 episodes. We'll do one this Thursday, and I think we're going to look at Monday just so that we can get it in before Tuesday's draft. But I'm very excited for those 2 pods, so go ahead, hit that sub button if you haven't already to stay tuned. Hit that like button if you're still in that live chat, and we will see you in our next